In the highlands where Burma, Thailand, and Laos meet, a blanket of mist covers the valleys shaped by the Mekong and Salween rivers. This area is known as the Golden Triangle. It has steep mountains, remote villages, and winding trails that have long been used for trade and smuggling. In the mid-1900s, this isolated region became famous for opium production, which became a highly valuable but dangerous drug. After World War II, colonial Burma started to break apart, and Mao Zedong's communists took control in China. Many people, including refugees and soldiers, sought safety in these borderlands. The rugged landscape, which was hard to control, became a refuge for outlaws and rebels. By the 1950s, global demand for opium rose, fueling black markets in Asia and increasing addiction problems in the West. During this chaotic time, Khun Sa became an important figure. He had roots in both Shan and Chinese backgrounds and went from being a poor village boy to calling himself the king of the Golden Triangle. His story shows how global politics, poverty, and geography worked together to create a huge drug empire. Khun Sa was born in 1934 in the hills of Sipa State in eastern Burma's Shan Plateau. His birth name, Chang Chi-fu, shows his mixed heritage. His father was a Chinese trader who lived among the Shan people, while his mother was Shan, part of the local ethnic group that had little control over the region's future. Before independence, the Shan states were part of British Burma and were made up of semi-feudal areas. The British used local princes called Saofas to rule indirectly, leaving much of the hill country mostly untouched by British administration. During Khun Sa's childhood, British soldiers and officials seldom traveled beyond the plains. He grew up in small villages with Buddhist monasteries, rice fields below, and poppy flowers blooming in the higher valleys. Mule caravans carried trade slowly through this landscape. His father's small trading business connected him to a network of Chinese merchants who moved goods through the frontier, including salt, cloth, dried tea, and more opium. The poppy was important in the hills. It was a valuable local crop, not yet a global commodity. Villagers smoked opium at home, offered it in small amounts at festivals, and sold it to traders who took it to Yunnan or Bangkok. When Khun Sa was still a boy, his father passed away, leaving the family in a difficult situation. His mother later remarried a Shan man, and through this union, Khun Sa gained stepbrothers who were sent to missionary schools. However, he himself never had that opportunity. His only formal education came from several years spent as a Buddhist novice, where he learned to read a few simple prayers and recite Pali chants. For the rest of his life, he would remain functionally illiterate, but he compensated for this with sharp instincts, charisma, and extraordinary leadership skills. The world outside the Shan Hills was in chaos. During the Second World War, the Japanese invaded Burma, upsetting the colonial system and sparking national movements that had long been suppressed. By the time Khun Sa became a teenager, the British had left, and independent Burma was trying to find its identity amid ethnic conflicts and political disorder. In the north, remnants of Chiang Kai-shek's Kuomintang KMT army had retreated into the jungles of Burma after being defeated by Mao's communists in China in 1949. These armed exiles, hoping to return to their homeland, set up bases in Shan and Kachin territories and sought local recruits and allies. For a young man like Khun Sa, the KMT offered new chances. They provided weapons, training, and a sense of power that the local government could not offer. Around the age of 16, Khun Sa started to work with KMT forces in the border areas. Even as just a teenager, he learned the basics of being a soldier, how to use guns, navigate in the jungle, and lead small groups of men. The training was rough, but it laid the groundwork for the empire he would later build. During these early years, Khun Sa learned that loyalty in the Shan Hills was changeable. Power did not rest with governments or political beliefs, but with those who could protect villages, control trade routes, and pay soldiers. He also saw the large profits that could come from opium, which was abundant enough to fund armies in the mountains. By the early 1950s, Khun Sa had gathered a small group of followers, young men like himself, armed with old rifles and bound by loyalty to him. They started by protecting traders, collecting tolls, and occasionally fighting for the KMT. But as he gained confidence, Khun Sa's ambitions grew, and when his group grew to several hundred men, he broke away from the Kuomintang to follow his own path. Even in his late teens, his legend was already forming. The orphan boy from the hills who trained with Chinese soldiers was now an independent warlord commanding men and controlling land. In a place where governments change with every monsoon season, such a figure could shape his own future. By the early 1950s, Burma was a divided country. The central government in Rangoon, newly independent, struggled to control a nation made up of many ethnic groups and armed groups. The army, called the Tatmadaw, fought on several fronts against communist rebels, ethnic insurgents, and remnants of the Kuomintang who refused to leave Burma. In Shan State's hills, the line between foreign and local forces was unclear. The KMT, defeated in China but still secretly supported by the United States to fight against communism, set up bases deep within Burma's borders. They created supply routes, airstrips, and camps, recruiting local Shan, Lahu, and Aka men to join them. The KMT aimed to reclaim Yunnan, but, for now, relied on local resources and the opium trade. For a young man like Khun Sa, this world of exiles and soldiers was both dangerous and full of opportunities. He joined the KMT as a local helper, learning how to fight, organize, negotiate, and survive in a world where loyalties were temporary and guns held power. KMT commanders taught him to read maps, use radios, and plan attacks. They also introduced him to the politics of the drug trade that funded their efforts. The KMT's control over parts of Shan State was unstable, but profitable. They taxed the opium caravans passing through their territories, offering protection to traders and working with local farmers to grow poppy fields. When the Burmese government tried to push them out, the KMT would simply move across the border into Thailand or Laos, returning once the pressure lessened. Khun Sa learned quickly that in the Shan Hills, power depended not on beliefs, but on the ability to lead people and control trade. When his group grew to several hundred, he decided to cut ties with the Kuomintang and act alone. This choice was risky, but marked his change from a soldier to a warlord. In his early 20s, Khun Sa set up a base in the jungles south of Sipa, near the Nampang River. His force was small but disciplined, funded through taxing opium production and trade, just like the KMT. He recruited Shan youth seeking protection and purpose, offering them pay, food, and a sense of belonging. He also formed alliances with village leaders, providing defense in exchange for supplies and loyalty. Sometimes, he worked with the Burmese army against other insurgents, and other times, he fought the government when it threatened his interests. This pattern repeated throughout his life. Khun Sa switched sides, took advantage of rivalries, and always came out stronger. In 1960, Burma's fragile democracy ended amid rising instability. The Shan, Karen, and Kachin peoples felt betrayed by the central government, leading to insurgencies across the country. Khun Sa, now recognized as a commander in the Shan region, officially registered his group with the Burmese authorities as a local militia known as a KKY unit. The KKY system aimed to involve local warlords in fighting communist insurgents for the government. In return, these militias could keep their weapons and unofficially fund themselves through the opium trade. For Khun Sa, this setup worked perfectly. He gained legitimacy, weapons, and the freedom to operate while expanding his opium business. He built connections with traders across the Thai and Laotian borders, creating one of the first organized networks in the area. His caravans, protected by his men, carried raw opium south toward Chiang Rai and Chiang Mai, where it was turned into morphine and heroin. By the mid-1960s, Khun Sa had become a major figure in Shan State. His followers called him Khun Sa, meaning Prince Prosperous in Shan. This title matched the image he created: a soldier merchant, a defender of the Shan people, and someone who could stand alongside the generals in Rangoon. As his power grew, so did the interest from those who wanted to control him. The Burmese government, wary of his independence, tried to rein him in. When he refused, they arrested him in 1969. It was a bold move, and for a while, it seemed the Prince of the Shan Hills had been defeated. However, he would prove them wrong. Khun Sa's imprisonment would not end his rise. It would transform it. While in jail, Khun Sa stayed in touch with the outside world. His men continued to operate under dedicated lieutenants, keeping the trade routes and alliances he had established. From prison, he built his image as a martyr for Shan autonomy, claiming to be unjustly imprisoned by the Burman-dominated government. In 1973, some of his most loyal followers abducted 2 Soviet doctors from a hospital in Taungyi, where the doctors had been working. A division of soldiers from the Burmese army was tasked with rescuing the doctors but failed in their mission. The doctors were ransomed for Khun Sa's freedom, and he was subsequently released in 1974. Khun Sa's release was secretly brokered by Thai General Kriangsak Chomanan. After his release, Khun Sa maintained a positive relationship with Chomanan and, in 1981, secretly contributed $50,000 to support him in a Thai election campaign. Khun Sa was back, and soon he regrouped his followers and crossed into northern Thailand, setting up a new base at Ban Hin Taik, near Mae Chan in Chiang Rai province. Ban Hin Taik became the center of Khun Sa's growing empire. From there, he strengthened his forces and expanded his control over opium production in Shan State. He called his army the Shan United Army, SUA, which he later renamed the Mong Thai Army, MTA, claiming to fight for Shan independence. To his supporters, he was a hero. To his enemies, he was one of Asia's most powerful drug lords. The 1970s represented the height of the Golden Triangle as a significant hub for drug production. The Vietnam War created a high demand for heroin among both soldiers and civilians. American intelligence agencies such as the CIA had complex relationships with anti-communist groups in Southeast Asia, as many of these groups financed their operations through the opium trade. However, in this chaotic and morally ambiguous environment, Khun Sa thrived. Under his leadership, opium farming grew across northern Shan State. Peasants were urged or forced to grow poppies, while Khun Sa's soldiers taxed every part of production and transport. His organization turned raw opium into heroin, setting up labs in remote jungle areas and sending the drugs through Thailand and Laos. By the late 1970s, Khun Sa's empire produced hundreds of tons of opium each year. Khun Sa was not just a drug dealer. He was also skilled in politics and public relations. He invited journalists to visit, claiming he was a freedom fighter, not a criminal. He once said, "If they want to stop opium, let them come and buy all the poppies. Then the farmers will grow something else." Some people even saw him as a symbol of ethnic resistance against Burma's oppressive military government. At Ban Hin Taik, Khun Sa built what looked like a small state. He had several thousand armed men, modern weapons, his own currency, and he collected taxes. He also ran schools and clinics, and villagers brought their disputes to his officers for resolution. Foreign reporters described his base as a mountain fortress with anti-aircraft guns, radio towers, and hidden storage for narcotics. His influence reached far beyond the hills. Through middlemen, he connected with Thai officials, merchants, and police who benefited from the drug trade. In return, he provided information on communist insurgents in the area, which helped Bangkok, as they viewed him as a valuable ally at the border. By the early 1980s, Khun Sa was known as the King of the Golden Triangle. He He controlled most of the opium moving from Burma into Thailand, had thousands of armed men, and amassed great wealth. People described him as soft-spoken but commanding, exuding both confidence and fear. However, his power attracted enemies. The U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, tracked him closely, declaring him one of the world's most wanted drug traffickers. The U.S. pressured Thailand and Burma to take action against him, and the Burmese army launched sporadic attacks, but the mountains and his network of alliances made him hard to reach. In his territory, Khun Sa acted like both a leader and a fighter. He built schools to teach the Shan language, spread propaganda about independence, and taxed the poppy farms that supported his army. To his followers, he was a prince protecting their homeland from Burman rule. To outsiders, he was a contradiction, both a revolutionary and a profiteer. He represented the connection between war, poverty, and drugs in Southeast Asia. By the mid-1980s, his army had grown to over 20,000 men, a force larger than many small countries. From Ban Hin Taik, he ruled a region across the Shan Hills, creating a state within a state supported by heroin. However, his increasing power was not sustainable. Eventually, the governments of Burma and Thailand, which had once tolerated him, would turn against him. Trouble was on the horizon. In 1985, U.S. intelligence estimated that Khun Sa controlled more than half of the world's heroin supply. Raw opium from the Shan Hills was moved to covert refineries under his aegis, where skilled chemists, many trained in Thailand, transformed it into morphine base and then pure heroin. The finished product was packed into oil drums or rice sacks and smuggled through a complex web of routes leading across the Mekong River into Thailand, from where it spread to Bangkok, Hong Kong, and beyond. The heroin that flooded Western markets during the 1980s, especially in the United States, often bore the hidden fingerprints of Khun Sa's operation. The profits were staggering. He acquired modern weaponry, built airstrips, and maintained a disciplined army of thousands. Within his territory, he enforced order, outlawed banditry, and provided a form of governance that, for all its self-interest, was far more consistent than anything offered by Rangoon. Even as Khun Sa's power reached its zenith, his isolation grew deeper. The United States, under President Ronald Reagan, ramped up its war on drugs, focusing intently on Khun Sa as one of its primary targets. The DEA issued multiple indictments against him, dangling multi-million-dollar rewards for his capture. In response, Khun Sa maintained his signature blend of defiance and pragmatism, granting interviews where he ridiculed American hypocrisy. If they truly wanted to tackle the heroin problem, he quipped, they should come and buy all his opium. Meanwhile, the geopolitical landscape in the region was changing. Thailand, which had long tolerated Khun Sa's presence as a barrier against communist insurgents, found little need for him as the Cold War began to thaw. In 1982, under pressure from the United States, Thai forces launched an offensive against Ban Hin Taik, and after intense fighting, Khun Sa's army retreated across the border into Burma, establishing a new stronghold in Homong, a remote valley nestled deep within Shan State. Homong emerged as his new capital, even grander and more fortified than Ban Hin Taik. Isolated from most outside access, it became the center of the Hmong Thai Army, MTA, which claimed to advocate for the national aspirations of the Shan people. Yet in reality, Homong was primarily a hub for narcotics. Airstrips and smuggling routes linked it to Thailand and Laos. Within his mountain fortress, Khun Sa ruled like a sovereign. He held court with commanders and village leaders, distributing wealth and administering justice. His soldiers, many of whom came from impoverished Shan villages, pledged their loyalty to him personally. Despite its illegal foundations, his regime provided a semblance of stability in a region long neglected by the Burmese government. The Burmese government, led by the authoritarian State Law and Order Restoration Council, SLORC, following the 1988 coup, faced a complex dilemma. Lacking the military might to eradicate Khun Sa entirely, they found his substantial territorial control to be a perpetual embarrassment. Instead, they opted for a strategy of containment and negotiation, occasionally attacking his forces while also trying to co-opt rival warlords who could undermine him. On the international stage, Khun Sa became synonymous with the Golden Triangle. Western journalists referred to him as a narco-king, a figure of both fear and fascination. Photographs of him, sometimes dressed in military fatigues, other times in lavish silk shan robes, graced magazines, creating a recognizable image of the region's elusive drug trade. However, within his empire, the contradictions were becoming ever more apparent. He presented himself as a nationalist liberator, yet many Shan intellectuals accused him of betraying their cause by enriching himself while ordinary farmers remained mired in poverty. Some insurgent groups, like the Shan State Army, SSA, began to question his dominance, igniting fratricidal conflicts that weakened the broader resistance against Rangoon. By the late 1980s, the cracks were starting to show. The international narcotics market was shifting, with Afghanistan emerging as a new heroin supplier. The DEA upped the pressure on Thailand to shut down Khun Sa's supply routes, and within Shan State, rival militias, including those backed by the Burmese military, started encroaching on his territory. Still, for over a decade, Khun Sa remained untouchable in his mountainous stronghold. He managed to build what no one before him had, a self-sustained kingdom in the Golden Triangle, defended by an army, financed by drugs, and legitimized, at least in the eyes of his followers. Nevertheless, empires established on opium and arms are inherently fragile. By the early 1990s, Khun Sa's kingdom was beginning to falter, besieged by external enemies and internal betrayals. By the dawn of the 1990s, Khun Sa's power was at both its peak and its tipping point. His army, the Mong Thai Army, MTA, controlled vast areas of Shan State, over 10,000 square kilometers of rugged mountains along the Thai border. Operating from his headquarters in Homong, he held sway over villages, trade routes, and poppy fields as if he were a sovereign ruler. Yet, the very fabric of his empire, woven from loyalty, fear, and the narcotics trade, was starting to fray. The Burmese junta, firmly in control after the 1988 military coup, viewed Khun Sa as a dual threat and a potential bargaining chip. A direct military attack was off the table. The challenging terrain favored guerrilla warfare, and Khun Sa's forces were simply too vast. Instead, the government in Rangoon resorted to divide-and-conquer tactics, forging alliances with rival militias and exploiting rifts within the Shan movement. One of their key allies was the United Wa State Army, a formidable group of ethnic Wa fighters who had previously aligned with the Communist Party of Burma. After the communist collapse in 1989, the Wa leaders made peace with the Burmese military and turned against Khun Sa, becoming both competitors in the drug trade and military foes. Backed by the Burmese military and their own opium profits, the Wa steadily pushed southward into the territories previously under MTA control. Khun Sa's reaction was to bolster his defenses and ramp up his nationalist rhetoric. He proclaimed the MTA as the legitimate army of the Shan State Restoration Council, a government in exile dedicated to gaining autonomy for the Shan people. His propaganda broadcast via shortwave radio called on all Shan to unite under his command. Yet, his appeals increasingly fell on deaf ears. Many Shan commanders realized that the dream of independence had been overshadowed by the harsh reality of heroin. Discontent brewed within the MTA ranks. Younger officers, tired of the endless conflict and aware of the growing international condemnation surrounding Khun Sa, began to question his leadership. Some defected to the Wa or the Burmese army, while others quietly slipped back into the jungle. His once iron grip on power was becoming fragile. International pressure was mounting against him as well. The United States continued to urge Thailand to shut down the supply routes that fueled the Golden Triangle drug trade. American satellites monitored caravan movements, while DEA agents collaborated with their Thai and Burmese counterparts to intercept shipments. In 1990, a U.S. federal court in New York formally indicted Khun Sa on heroin trafficking charges, offering a $2 million bounty for his capture, an enormous sum that made him one of the world's most wanted men. However, Khun Sa did not respond with panic, but instead with careful calculation. He realized that his survival hinged not on defiance, but on negotiation. His early experiences of switching allegiances had honed his skills in diplomacy. As the MTA's position weakened, he began secret talks with the Burmese military government. The junta, facing international isolation and internal insurgencies, recognized an opportunity in a deal with Khun Sa. If he surrendered peacefully, they could neutralize a significant threat and claim a propaganda victory in the global war on drugs. For Khun Sa, this presented a way out, a chance to exchange his empire for security and wealth. In 1995, tensions reached a boiling point. Facing encirclement and a loss of loyalty among his ranks, Khun Sa began discreet negotiations with the Burmese government. Although conducted in secrecy, the core of the discussions was straightforward. He would surrender his arms in return for amnesty and protection. By January 1996, the news hit the headlines. Khun Sa, self-styled king of the Golden Triangle, had surrendered to the Burmese authorities. This unexpected turn of events left the world shocked. Many Western analysts had anticipated a dramatic finale, either capture, assassination, or even suicide. Instead, Khun Sa opted for a different path, one that safeguarded both his life and a substantial part of his wealth. The specifics of his surrender were never fully revealed. His troops were reportedly integrated into militias allied with the government, while Khun Sa found a place of residence in Yangon, formerly Rangoon, the capital of Myanmar. There, he lived under conditions described in vague terms as protective custody. The man who was once hunted by the DEA and vilified in the media now resided quietly in a villa, under the watch of government forces rather than his own soldiers. The ruling junta, eager to showcase the surrender as a victory, announced that Khun Sa had renounced the drug trade and pledged his allegiance to the Union of Myanmar. For the first time in nearly 50 years, the Golden Triangle's most infamous warlord had hung up his weapons. For many of his former followers, however, the surrender felt like a betrayal. The Maung Thai Army, MTA, collapsed almost overnight, leaving thousands of Shan soldiers without direction or purpose. Some joined rival factions, others turned to banditry, and many simply returned to their villages. The dream of a united Shan resistance faded away with Khun Sa's capitulation. Yet, in his own shrewd way, Khun Sa had once again proven his survival instinct. He outlasted expectations and traded his crumbling empire for a life of comfort and security, where he not only secured his own future, but also that of his 8 children, 5 sons and 3 daughters, all who had been educated overseas. As a gesture for his move to Yangon, they were allowed to take charge of and manage various business ventures in Myanmar. By this time, their mother Nan Kayayon had already passed away. When Khun Sa laid down his arms in January 1996, the world's press quickly jumped at the chance to declare an end to an era. The Golden Triangle's most formidable warlord, long accused of supplying half of the world's heroin, surrendered without a single shot fired. The Burmese junta showcased the event as evidence that their strategy of negotiation combined with coercion was bearing fruit. State newspapers featured photos of generals shaking hands with Khun Sa, who had traded his military fatigues for a simple white tunic, offering a faint smile as if the years of bloodshed and chaos were finally behind him. To the regime, his surrender epitomized both military strength and political adaptability. For Khun Sa, it was merely the final deal in a lifetime filled with negotiations. He was taken to Yangon, where he settled into a spacious villa under discreet surveillance. Although he was technically monitored, he lived quite freely within the city's bounds. Rumors spread that he had managed to keep much of his wealth, some stashed away in overseas accounts, some tied up in property and gold held by trusted associates. In his new life, he resembled less of a captive and more of an aging businessman enjoying his retirement. He had even been allowed to bring along 4 young mistresses, all teenagers hailing from Kengtung in eastern Shan state. The transition was striking for a man who had once commanded thousands. He seldom ventured into public, steering clear of journalists and former comrades alike. Those fortunate enough to meet him painted a picture of a man at peace with himself, even finding humor in his shift from outlaw to elder statesman. In private conversations, he reminisced about the Shan Hills, his youth among the poppy fields, and the years he spent commanding in the mountains. The Burmese government, for its part, took steps to ensure Khun Sa remained quiet. They tolerated his presence as long as he stirred no trouble and made no political proclamations. In return, he was allowed to live comfortably and without interference. By the late 1990s, the Golden Triangle was undergoing significant changes. The United Wa State Army, once a rival to Khun Sa, had emerged as the leading force in the region, taking over many of the routes and operations he once controlled. Ironically, the agreement between the Burmese government and the WA allowed the drug trade to continue under new management, even as it claimed victory over the so-called Opium King. Khun Sa's drift into quiet domestic life didn't diminish his legendary status. Stories about him continued to circulate in Thailand, Burma, and beyond. Some claimed he still directed business ventures through intermediaries, while others maintained that he had genuinely retired, satisfied to let younger figures navigate the chaos he once ruled. His image appeared on bootleg DVDs, in novels, and even on murals. In Shan State, older villagers recalled him as both a hero and a tyrant, a man who had protected them, imposed taxes, and drawn them into a global trade that was beyond their comprehension. Meanwhile, Western governments found themselves frustrated. The United States Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, had placed him at the top of its wanted list for years, but after his surrender, the Burmese junta refused to extradite him. Washington called for justice, but Rangoon replied that he was now a citizen under government oversight and no longer involved in the drug trade. As the years rolled on, the opium fields of the Golden Triangle began to shrink, giving way to methamphetamine production and other illicit economies. Yet the structure Khun Sa had built, the web of corruption, the roots, and the cross-border logistics, remained intact. In some ways, he had laid the foundation for modern narcotics trafficking in Southeast Asia, even as he receded from the limelight. By the early 2000s, the once feared warlord was now an elderly man living quietly in Yangon. His health declined. Diabetes and heart disease confined him to his home. Visits were few, and he stopped granting interviews altogether. For all his past power and notoriety, he returned to the obscurity from which he had originally emerged, a man of mixed heritage, illiterate yet shrewd, who had built an empire amid the chaos of a forgotten frontier. On October 26, 2007, Khun Sa passed away in Yangon at the age of 73. Official reports referred to him only as Uchang Chifu businessman, glossing over his infamous background. He was cremated quietly, attended only by family and a few associates. No monuments marked his passing, and no public statements were issued. Yet across the Shan Hills, word spread rapidly. The Opium King was gone. In death, as in life, Khun Sa remained a figure of contradictions. To some, he was a criminal mastermind who flooded the world with heroin, profiting at the expense of his people's suffering. To others, especially among the Shan, he was a protector, someone who brought order where chaos reigned and provided some unity to the hills under his rule. Khun Sa rose from the fringes of empire, crafted a state from the profits of narcotics, and maneuvered his way out of annihilation. His life mirrored the Golden Triangle itself, resilient, violent, and endlessly adaptable.